Arizona Territory, August 1880. The sun was just starting to dip low, bleeding orange over the cracked earth, when we saw her. She came stumbling through the sagebrush like a ghost torn loose from somewhere worse. Barefoot, alone, her dress ripped open at the side, blood leaking slow and steady from a wound just under her ribs. One hand pressed to it, fingers soaked, her other arm hung limp. Her hair was matted, skin sunburnt to the bone, but her eyes, God help me, they were wide open, empty and still walking. There were 5 of us, just cowboys heading north after a cattle drive, dusty, half-drunk, and tired enough to sleep in the saddle. We'd been joking 1 minute, and then she appeared, staggering through the low brush like she didn't see us at all, just walking forward like her feet didn't know how to stop. "Jesus," Joe muttered, tugging his reins. "That woman's been shot!" None of the others moved. I didn't think about it. My boots hit the dust before I even knew I was down, and I was walking toward her, arms out slightly in case she spooked. Her legs buckled before I got to her. I caught her under the arms just before she crumpled face first into the dirt. She didn't scream, didn't flinch, just sagged in my hold like every bone had gone soft. I eased her down into the shade of a mesquite tree and took my canteen to her lips. She sipped like a ghost, too, mechanical, lips split, breath shallow. Then her eyes rolled back, and she went still. Not dead, but close enough I had to press my fingers to her throat twice to be sure. I looked up. The other men hadn't moved. "Well," I barked, "get me water! Get rags! We need to stop the bleeding!" Grady spat. "Fletch, we don't know her. She could be trouble." "She's dying," I snapped, "and you're going to leave her like a dead calf in a dry creek?" No answer, just muttering in side glances. I didn't wait. I grabbed my saddlebag and ripped it open, pulling out the cleanest shirt I had, tore the sleeves into strips and packed them tight against her wound. The shot looked clean through, lower belly, left side, but it was deep. Could have nicked anything. She needed real help. Still, something in her face said she'd already survived worse. I stayed beside her as the sky dimmed and the cicadas started their singing. The boys made camp 50 yards off, none of them saying a word to me. I sat under that tree and kept pressing the cloth, dabbing her forehead, keeping her breathing shallow and steady. At some point after full dark, her eyes opened again, glazed but locked on mine. "Ellen. Elijah." "Who?" I asked, leaning close. "My babies. They took 'em." Then her body sagged again, out cold. That's the moment I knew this wasn't just a rescue. This was a beginning. And I wasn't riding away without knowing who they were and where those babies had gone. She burned with fever by midnight. I built a fire low and kept her warm with my own blanket, checking the wound every hour, changing the blood-soaked cloths, giving her sips of water when she stirred. She shivered hard, mumbling in her sleep, sometimes thrashing. I caught a few words: "Don't take them. Hide under. Ellen, hush now." But mostly it was just pain speaking through her lips. When dawn came, I waded into the creek and soaked my hat, bringing it back to cool her brow. Her face was gaunt, mouth cracked, skin flushed red in patches that had nothing to do with sunburn. She needed a doctor. But we were 2 days from anywhere decent, and I didn't reckon she had that kind of time. Her eyes blinked open just after sunup. They were clearer than before, but still watery and wide, like she didn't trust the ground beneath her. "Water," she croaked. I lifted her head and helped her drink. "You're safe," I said, slow and steady. "I got you out of the heat.
You lost a lot of blood, but you're going to be all right. What's your name?" She blinked twice. Her throat moved. "Georgia." "That's a good name," I said. "I'm Fletcher Ward." Her gaze flicked around the little grove. She struggled to sit. I stopped her with a hand to her shoulder. "Easy. You've got a through shot just under your ribs. I patched it best I could, but you've got to stay still." That's when her expression changed. She didn't ask where she was. She didn't ask who I was or what happened. Instead, her lips trembled. "My children," she whispered. "Tell me." She closed her eyes like it hurt more than the wound. "Elijah is 5. Ellen is 7. We were heading west with a wagon and 2 mules. My husband, he's gone. Died last winter. I sold everything and left Missouri for Arizona. Thought we could start new." Her voice cracked. "2 days ago, some men blocked the trail, said they were scouts for a mining outfit. One had a badge, looked real. Told me the road was closed. I told them I had 2 children sleeping in the back. They said I'd be fine. Next thing I knew, one pulled a pistol, said to get down or I'd get shot. I screamed. One of them grabbed Ellen. I fought. I don't even remember the shot. Just falling. Then I heard the wagon roll away." Her hand covered her mouth. "I haven't heard them cry since." I felt something shift inside me then, sharp and deep, like the crack of a green branch bent too far. "Do you remember what they looked like?" I asked. She nodded. "The one with the badge, bald, gray beard, called Pike, had a scar across his scalp. There were 2 others, one Mexican, one boy, maybe 20. I don't know their names." "You said Pike? Pike Crenshaw?" Her eyes lit up with startled recognition. "You know him?" "Only by reputation," I said grimly. "He used to run with a gang down near Santa Cruz. Then he started selling people, women, children too, if rumor was right." Georgia shut her eyes. "And they're gone." I touched her wrist, firm. "No, they're not." She looked at me, tired and skeptical. "I don't say things to sound good, but I'm not riding off and leaving 2 stolen children in the hands of a bastard like Pike. I don't care if I have to chase him clear across the territory. We'll find them. You have my word." Her eyes brimmed, but didn't spill. "You'd do that?" she asked, barely a whisper. I just nodded. "I already started." For the first time, she squeezed my hand back.
By mid-morning, I rode us both to the nearest shelter I could trust, Maria's place. Maria Delgado was the kind of woman who kept a shotgun by the door and bread always baking in the oven. She'd lost her husband to a copper pit and raised 3 boys on nothing but willpower and beans. She didn't blink when she saw me ride up with a half-conscious woman slung behind me, just waved us in and set to boiling water like she'd done it 100 times. Georgia slept through most of it. Maria cleaned the wound properly, stitched where I'd packed, and made a tonic that smelled like vinegar and pine needles, but dropped Georgia's fever by nightfall. The next morning, she could sit up without groaning. By the second, she was eating broth and asking questions. That's when she looked at me long and close and said, "I know you." I blinked. "Don't think so." She shook her head, squinting like she was digging through old memory. 3 years ago, cattle drive east of Las Cruces. I was with my husband, Jonah Barron. You helped a stuck wagon near the river. I remember because your horse kicked a boot into the water and you laughed like it was the funniest damn thing that ever happened." I stared at her, And slowly I remembered the girl with the red shawl and the quiet eyes, who hadn't said much but watched everything. I remembered the man, too, her husband, loud, swaggering, called her woman more than by name. "You were married to Jonah Barron?" Her face hardened a little. "Was. He's dead. Fell through the ice trying to cross the Missouri too early in the season." I waited, but she didn't say more. Later that day, as I was checking the cinch straps on my saddle, she stepped out onto the porch wrapped in one of Maria's blankets. The bruises under her eyes had faded some. Her lips weren't cracked anymore. She looked like someone rebuilding piece by piece. "Thank you," she said, "for finding me, for staying." I gave her a nod. "You said we'd find them. You still mean that?" "I meant it yesterday. I mean it now." She hesitated. "I don't have much left. No money, no land, just them. They're all I have, and I'm not much help like this." "You'll heal," I said. She met my eyes. "And you? Why help a stranger? What makes you care?" I swallowed, then looked past her at the hills. "Because I lost someone once. Not the same way, not children. But it took years before I could stop thinking about how I should have acted faster, should have done something different. That kind of guilt don't fade easy." She nodded slowly. Then, surprising both of us, she reached out and touched my hand. "Then let's do this together." Her fingers were thin, rough, warm. I held them gently for a moment, then stood. "I'll head to town. There's a man named Milo Winslow who keeps ears open for coin. He owes me. If those bastards came through, he'll know it." Georgia pulled the blanket tighter. "Be careful." I smirked. "You too." By dusk, I had news that chilled the marrow. Pike Crenshaw had passed through just 2 nights ago, with a red-covered wagon and 2 children riding silent in the back. He'd bought supplies. No one asked questions. He was heading east, off the main roads.
I brought back coffee and news. We sat on Maria's porch the next morning, Georgia wrapped in one of her lone shawls, steam rising from her tin cup like smoke from a small fire. The bruise at her temple had yellowed, and her eyes tracked me with steady heat. "Crenshaw's heading east," I told her, "off the main road. Winslow said he had a cracked wagon wheel when he passed through, said he'd fix it himself. Bought a heap of supplies. Beans, jerky, gun oil. Enough to camp out a while." George's lips tightened. "He's hiding." I nodded. "Smart move. Territory marshals don't poke much off the freed lines. He's got a head start, but not by much. If we ride hard, we can catch his trail in 2 days." She set her cup down. "Then I'm riding. You're not healed. I don't care." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "You've got a half-sealed gut wound and no saddle strength left. That ride would split you open." Her jaw tensed. "I won't stay behind while my children are out there." I didn't answer right away. Just looked at her. The wind blew light across the porch, picking up a thread of her hair. She looked like a mother buried under battle, the kind of woman who'd crawl across broken glass if she thought it would bring her babies back. "You think I'm trying to own this? You think I want credit?" "No," she said. "I think you don't understand what it means to lose them. I can't just sit here while you ride off. What if something happens?" I softened my voice. "If something happens, they'll still have me." She didn't look convinced. So I tried again. "This ain't about pride, Georgia. It's about getting them back in one piece. If that means I ride ahead and you come after, so be it." She looked down at her hands. "I've been put aside a long time, Fletcher. By Jonah, by his people, by anyone who thought they knew better. I'm tired of being told what I'm too weak to do." "And I'm tired of seeing you hurt," I said flatly. Silence stretched. Then she let out a slow breath and nodded. "Just once." "Fine. One day. But if I'm strong enough tomorrow, I ride." I didn't argue. We spent the rest of the afternoon prepping. Maria gave me dried meat, a flask of brandy, and a new set of saddle bandages. Georgia surprised me by oiling a pistol she'd found in Maria's old cedar box, checking its action with careful hands. "You shoot?" I asked. "He taught me," she said, "when he was sober." I didn't reply, but I filed it away. By nightfall, the plan was set. I'd ride ahead at dawn, get closer to Crenshaw's trail, and mark signs if I found any sign of camp or movement. Georgia would follow with Maria once she was strong enough to sit a full day's saddle. She came to the door as I was mounting in the morning light, her face pale but set. "Don't let him vanish." I looked at her, long and firm. "He won't." And I meant it. I'd seen her children now, if only in the way she said their names. I'd seen what this meant to her, what it would do if she failed. I wasn't going to let that happen. Not on my trail.
By first light, I was in the saddle, riding east through the rim country. Tall grass waved gold in the morning breeze, juniper trees scattered like survivors across the broken slopes. I rode hard, cutting the land with my eyes for anything out of place. Broken branches, wheel ruts, boot prints, ash from a cold fire. It was near noon when I spotted the sign. Wagon tracks, fresh, slicing through a patch of sandy red soil. One wheel had a wobble, the right rear, leaving a scallop pattern easy to read. Beside it, a set of smaller prints, barefoot, light, children's steps. My breath caught. I dismounted, knelt in the dirt. The tracks led toward a rocky bluff, curving up into a cut between the hills. A smart place to hide. Narrow, shaded, easily defensible. But no smoke, no scent. He hadn't stopped here. Farther on, just past a dry wash, I found the cold camp. Coals black, not more than a few hours old. One tin can tossed aside, 2 blankets, one stained. No bodies, no fresh sign of blood. My heart pounded loud enough I could hear it in my ears. Then I saw it. A strip of cloth caught on a thorn bush just off the trail. Faded pink. The hem of a dress. Tiny stitches. Loose thread dangling. I didn't know for sure, but I knew. I held it in my hand for a long minute. The wind moved around me. The sun baked everything quiet. I tucked it into my saddlebag and pressed on. By nightfall, I made camp not far from the tracks. The stars came out clear and sharp above. No clouds, no coyotes. Just that eerie quiet the land gets when it knows something's about to break. I laid awake a long time, rifle across my chest, listening. Come dawn, I rode harder. By midday, I found the wagon. It was propped on a slant above a ravine, one wheel off and lashed with a makeshift splint. Smoke rose in a thin line from behind a lean-to built into the rocks. I counted 3 men, Pike, the boy, and the Mexican, all armed, one cleaning a rabbit, one sleeping, one pacing. I didn't see the children, but I saw a small arm poke out from behind the canvas. They were alive. I backed my horse down the ridge slow and careful, circled south, and rode hard back to meet Georgia and Maria. They'd made it halfway. Georgia looked pale but upright, her eyes sharper than I'd seen 'em yet. I rode straight to her and handed her the pink cloth. She stared at it like it was the last piece of a puzzle that proved her baby still existed. "They're there?" she asked. I nodded. "Alive. Hidden behind the lean-to. Pike's got 2 men with him, guns, but he don't know I found him." Her hand went to the pistol on her hip. "I ride with you," she said. I looked at Maria, who just gave me a flat nod. She made me promise not to stop her.
I sighed, then gave Georgia the reins of my spare horse. "We hit 'em at dawn," I said. She nodded, eyes wet but mouth tight. "If he's touched 'em," I said, "he hasn't. Not yet. But if he has," I finished it for her, "then we bury him." The air was cold before dawn, bitter in that way only desert mornings can be, like the earth trying to remember winter in the middle of summer. We left the horses tethered at the tree line and climbed the slope on foot, careful with every step. Georgia moved beside me, slow but steady, wrapped tight in a dark coat, the pistol tucked close to her ribs. She hadn't said a word in half an hour, just held her breath like the silence itself was part of her. The ravine narrowed as we crept along the ridge. The wagons still sat tilted, canvas sides now tied shut. A weak fire smoked near the rocks. One man was already up, the young one, pacing with a rifle slung loose in his arms. The other two were asleep or inside the lean-to. I turned to Georgia. "We do this quiet. I walk down like a trader, say I got pelts or coin to swap. I keep 'em talking. When the others step out, you flank left. The moment you see the children clear, I shoot," she said. "No, only if you have to." She looked at me, eyes flat. "Fletcher, I'll only shoot if they give me no other choice, but I ain't losing them twice." We split. I holstered my Colt and walked into the clearing like I belonged there, hands loose, face relaxed. "Morning," I called out. The boy spun, rifle half raised but not yet aimed. "Don't shoot. Just passing through. Got some beaver pelts if you're looking to trade." He eyed me, uncertain. From the lean-to, Pike's voice barked, "Who's that?" Before the boy could answer, Pike stepped out. Same as Georgia described him, bald, bearded, with that thick scar like a river bend across his scalp. He squinted at me. "You alone?" he asked. "Mostly," I said. "Got a mule back yonder, just hunting trade." Then the Mexican stepped out, half-dressed and yawning, pistol tucked into his belt. That's when Georgia moved. She came out of the brush like vengeance on 2 feet, pistol up, face stone-hard, and voice clear as a bell. "Step away from the wagon!" The boy startled, lifting his rifle, but I was already on him, knocked it clean from his hands and dropped him with a boot to the gut. Pike went for his belt, but Georgia was faster. Her shot clipped his shoulder and spun him against the wagon. The third man ran. Georgia didn't bother firing. She ran to the canvas flap and tore it open. "Ellen! Elijah!" 2 small faces appeared, scared, blinking, but then they saw her, and everything changed. Ellen screamed, "Mama!" and Elijah dove into her arms. She sank to her knees, sobbing, holding both of them, like she could press them back into her body. I cuffed Pike where he lay groaning, then tied the boy's hands behind him. Georgia turned to me, shaking, tears cutting paths down her dust-covered face. "You found him," she said. "We found him." The sun was breaking over the ridge now, pink and gold bleeding into the sky. The children clung to Georgia like vines, like roots remembering the soil they belonged to. We left the men tied at the fire with half a canteen and a strip of jerky. Georgia wanted to kill Pike, and I didn't blame her, but we both knew we had what mattered, and justice, like bullets, has to be aimed carefully. We burned the lean-to and rolled the wagon down the ravine. Then we rode. Georgia held one child in front and one behind, her arms wrapped tight around both. I rode beside her, rifle across my lap, eyes always scanning forward. We didn't speak until dusk. Didn't need to. Everything we needed to say was riding with us. We made camp near the Verde River that night, just off a bend where cottonwoods leaned in close, and the ground was soft with old leaves. The children were too tired to eat much, just curled up under Fletcher's old wool blanket, Elijah with his face in his sister's side, and Ellen gripping her mother's shirt like it might vanish if she let go. Georgia and I sat near the fire. She watched the flames in silence, arms folded, face unreadable in the flicker light. Her hat was gone, hair tangled and fallen down one side of her cheek. I saw her lips move once, like she was praying, then fall still again. "They didn't hurt them," she finally said, barely above a whisper. "No, they didn't. Could have been different." "Could have," I said, "but it wasn't." She looked over at me, something fragile in her gaze. "You think this ends it? That we just go back to normal now?" I shook my head. Nothing's ever normal after something like that. She laughed, bitter and quiet. "Do you know what I feel right now? I feel scared. Not from them, not anymore, but from having nowhere to go." I didn't answer right away. I poked at the fire with a stick, watched a spark leap and die. "Then come with me," I said. Her brow furrowed. "Where?" "I've got land up in Pine Hollow. Little cabin, bit of pasture. It's not much, but it's mine, and it's safe. You and the kids can stay as long as you like. Or forever." She went quiet. I kept talking, but slow. "I know what folks say about women with pasts, about widows with children, about men like me who don't know when to mind their own business. But I don't care. You and those kids, you're worth more than all the judgments they can throw." She turned toward me fully now, hands in her lap, fingers laced tight. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." "Do you want something in return for all this?" I met her eyes. "Just don't vanish, that's all." She smiled, just a little, then looked back at the fire. The moon rose slow behind the cottonwoods, casting silver across the river. The night was still, even the cicadas held their tongues. After a while, she leaned against my shoulder, just a breath of weight, like testing the idea. Her voice came soft. "I haven't felt safe since Missouri. Not really. Not since Jonah started drinking." I let her speak, didn't interrupt. "I used to think safety came from locking a door, from being left alone. But maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's someone who stays." "I stay," I said. She nodded once. The kids stirred in their sleep, murmuring soft. Georgia looked over at them, then back at me. "Let's go to Pine Hollow. Find work. Get shoes that fit. Let 'em sleep in real beds." "And you?" She hesitated. Then, "I'll see if I remember how to build a life."
Pine Hollow wasn't much to look at. A few clapboard buildings strung along the river bend, one mercantile, a saloon with broken shutters, a faded church steeple leaning just left of center. But to Georgia, it might as well have been heaven. Martha took us in first. She was a widow like Georgia, but older and loud as a dinner bell, ran the bakery and the general store on alternating days. The moment she saw the children, she made them sit down and handed them warm bread and apple slices without a word. Just nodded at Georgia and said, "You've got eyes like a woman who made it through hell. You can stay as long as you earn your keep." Georgia started working the counter 2 days later. First quiet, then steadier. She wore her hair up and tied her apron neat, and little by little the town began to soften. Some looked away, others nodded. A few of the women gave her the sort of cautious approval that's rare and valuable. Recognition from those who'd been bruised the same way and kept going. The children ran through the creek banks barefoot, picked blackberries, helped stack flour sacks.
Elijah carved a little horse out of pine one afternoon, and when he handed it to me, I didn't know what to say. Just kept it in my coat pocket. The porch became our quiet place. After supper, once the children were asleep, we'd sit and drink coffee and watch the wind carry the last light through yokes. She didn't always talk, and I didn't always need her to. One night, she slid her hand across the wood until it touched mine. She said, "I'm not the same woman you found bleeding in the sage." "I know. I don't want to be taken care of anymore." "You aren't. I want to choose," she whispered, "not just survive. I want a life that I pick, that I stand in." I turned to face her. "Then choose me," I said, and she did. We married under the oak at the edge of town, just us, the children, and Martha to say the words. No lace, no preacher, no audience. Georgia wore a blue dress she'd sewn herself. I wore the only shirt I owned without holes. When she said, "I do," she looked at me like I was solid ground after a long storm. We built from there. Fences, coops, days of hard work and nights with music drifting from the saloon down the hill. There were still hard mornings, still shadows, but there was laughter too, and soil in our hands, and the kind of quiet that doesn't come from being alone, but from knowing you're finally home. One evening, years later, I found her standing by the porch with a hand on Ellen's shoulder, watching Elijah climb a tree like it was made just for him. She turned to me and smiled, slow and deep. She said, "You kept your word." And I did. Every damn piece of it.